Thousands upon thousands of illegal immigrants come into our country each and every day. They are risking their lives for a new future, and they come into a new country with new hardships and new racism that they are not accustomed to. Whether you disagree with the immigrants and say that they are destroying our country and our economic system, or you agree with it and say that they are doing nothing but helping our system, this does affect each and every one of us. I have lived in a culturally diverse city for much of my life, and I have become increasingly interested in the political and social aspects of this, and I've done a great deal of research regarding this issue. I want to propose a plan that will help immigrants with the integration process and hopefully help curb racism here in the United States. I'm going to first start with the problems with illegal immigration and the jail system. Then we're going to move into the day laborers and the problems with that and the jobs these guys are forced into every day to make ends meet. And then finally, we're going to look at a simple plan that will hopefully help this process with illegal immigration coming in here and becoming legal residents of the United States and hopefully curbing racism here in the United States. So let's start with some of the problems with illegal immigration. One of the problems here is the increased amount of prejudice. MyFoxHouston.com has reported on a title called FBI Hate Crimes states that in 2003, 45% of all hate crimes were directed towards Latinos. Now, in current day, 67% of these crimes are directed straight towards Latinos and Hispanic community. Next, we're going to talk about the illegal immigration in the prisons. There's a lot of overcrowding in our prison system right now. A lot of this is due to the marijuana that's being brought into our country. FrontDesk.com reports that nearly 2/3 of all marijuana that is brought into the United States comes directly from Mexico. This is an increasing problem with drug offenses and stuff like that that is bringing these guys into federal prisons. Samantha Hayes from CNN.com reported that a live grenade was actually thrown into a bar, and this was from a disagreement with some of the drug trades, and these drug lords were not getting the amount of money that they thought that they deserved for their drugs that they were bringing into our country. And there were thousands upon thousands of incidences here in the United States directly linked between this, and this is also causing some of the problems with the current U.S. citizens and these immigrants coming into our country. Progressive.org reports that nearly 40% of the prison population are Latinos right now, and that's the federal prison. These guys are being brought in here, for a lot of different reasons, drug use and being illegal. But nearly half of the 40% that are in there are there specifically for being illegal, and they're being brought into the federal prison. I believe that if we start a citizenship program here, this is going to help the problem. We are bringing these illegals into the prison system, sending them to the federal prison, and these guys are being stuck into, they get shipped back to Mexico, and then they come right across the border again. I believe that if we start some kind of program that's going to help them become citizens and make it a little bit easier of a process, they'll be able to learn English and they'll be able to do all this stuff to become citizens, and it's going to kind of help curb the racism currently going on right now. Now, since we learned some of the problems with the illegal immigration and some of the problems with our current jail systems, we're going to go into the day laborers. These guys are usually, and it's notorious for standing in front of Home Depots, and they have people that come and they basically recruit them for a day's work. They don't have any, any set hours, any set wage really. These guys just pick them up for cheap labor. About 12,000 day laborers are in the U.S. right now, and that's according to ABCNews.com, and they said this could even double the amount. This is just what the report says. At least 12,000 are in there. These guys can't find jobs. They do not know how to speak English. They do not know our current system, and they are forced into these day labor jobs. A lot of these are construction workers. These guys, the construction companies, a lot of times have been reported to short them pay. NewYorkTimes.com said at least 40% of these day laborers are unpaid, or they are short their pay, and they are not given this proper safety inspections that the full-time employees are given. They are not given the hard hats and all that stuff that the regular employees get. I believe that this can be curbed by a little bit more pressure on these companies to not hire them. We're going to start off with jail time. If we actually give these guys jail time, we give these guys years in prison for hiring illegal immigrants to do these jobs, that they're not going to want to hire them as much. There's going to be, we need to have stricter consequences for these guys. And in order for this, I mean, if we do that, then these immigrants are going to be forced into needing to learn English to get actual jobs. They're not going to be forced into day labor jobs where they can be exploited day in and day out. Since we have talked about the day labor jobs, I'm going to go into some possible solutions for this. These solutions have been around for years, and we just have not put them into actual effect right now. The first part I want to talk about is easily accessible for the immigrants. We need to make these programs in courthouses, in the county seats, where these guys can go at least once a week and go get help, try to get their citizenship, get programs where they can learn our culture and our community. One of the big problems is we're never going to be able to keep up with illegal immigration. These people are coming in, they come from different countries from across the world, but the biggest issue right now is the ones coming from Mexico. We're not going to be able to keep up with this. They come in thousands upon thousands each and every day, like we talked about earlier. If we make this, if we get a certain program to help them become citizens, they will become more educated. There's going to be less problems. There's going to be not as many labor jobs, day labor jobs. They're actually going to be able to go into the workforce and provide for the United States of America. They're going to actually be citizens. They don't really have information of where to go. These guys come into our country and they go straight to work. They're trying to make a better living for their family and for their children. If we give them information on where to go, make this easily accessible, we might have some actual ground to gain here. And if these guys go into these programs and they try to learn English, then there's going to be less racism going on, since they're actually making strides towards becoming citizens. A huge thing right now is, I believe, would be having more English classes accessible to the parents. The children go into the elementary schools and the high schools and they learn English. They actually oftentimes have to report. They go into a grocery store and the children have to be the translators for the parents. If we make these classes accessible, let's say one day a week in the local courthouse or the county seat, where these guys can actually practice their English, learn the language, and all that stuff, there's going to be a little less racism. If we can show that these guys coming into our country are taking steps into learning English, there should be less racism. There's not going to be as many, they don't even know English. They can come in here and say, hey, look, we're taking steps towards this, and it's going to be a positive all around. In conclusion, we have looked at problems within illegal immigration and then the jail system. We have looked at the problems with the day laborers and what these guys are forced into. And finally, we talked about basic, simple plans that are going to help these guys with the integration process into the United States and hopefully curb racism with showing that they are actually currently trying to become citizens of the United States. I believe these people come into our country and they try to create a better life for their children and their family and themselves, coming from poor backgrounds where they are abused by the government, and we got a lot of drug trafficking and drug lords in Mexico currently right now. And these people come into the United States to get away from that. I think it'd be a travesty if the United States wasn't open to helping these people, accepting these people into our country, and helping them learn our language, learn our culture, and learn our social norms to help make America more prosperous. Evidence has shown that these guys coming in here do a lot of jobs, do a lot of hard-working jobs, and it would just be a big problem if the United States wouldn't do something about that to help these immigrants from different countries socialize to our culture. I believe as U.S. citizens, we need to be more acceptable and more open to these people and more understanding of where they're coming from and how they want to have a better life. By making these programs more accessible to them English classes, citizenship classes, in the local courthouses, say once a week. This may help curb some of the racism that's going on in America, and hopefully help their integration process into our country a little bit easier and safer, that they won't have to do the day labor jobs, that they won't have to go around and be criticized for coming into our country just because they're they're immigrants. Our country is based on immigrants. We have people from Ireland, we have people from Poland. They have all faced opposition when coming into our country. If we open up our minds and our hearts, we can make America a better place.